The CEFR provides language teachers with a general framework for teaching and assessing languages in Europe. Here is the table of contents. We'll start with a short introduction on the CEFR and its aims. We will then highlight some of the key concepts such as the common reference levels, the language activities, the communicative competencies, and the action-based approach. We'll finish with a brief presentation of the European Learning Portfolio. That's the first part. The CEFR, known as the Common European Framework Reference for Languages, was originally issued in 2001, and its companion volume was issued in 2018. The companion volume actually updates the contents of the 2001 issue, specifically on the assessment of the phonological and mediation competencies. The Common European Framework for Languages was first published in 2001, as I said before, by the Council of Europe Linguistics Policy Department, and it's been implemented or adapted since in Europe and also by a great deal of other countries in the world. If you are teaching French as a secondary language, French as a foreign language, or English as a foreign language, you need to have some insight into these two documents. That's what this video is about. To recap, its aims. What are the objectives of the CEFR, you might wonder? The CEFR results from an in-depth research program led by language specialists in Europe. This framework provides trainers, coursebook writers, diploma designers, etc., with a common approach in the field of teaching languages. These reports define and describe thoroughly the aims, the methods, and the assessment which can be used when teaching a foreign language. That's why we say that the CEFR has a vocational, a professional goal, because the ultimate goal is to promote European mobility of European citizens. So, the CEFR has brought different interesting concepts in the field of teaching and assessing languages in Europe. It has defined the level of language proficiency from A1, basic user, to B2, B1, independent user, up to proficient user, C1, C2. We can say that in a French school system, A1 should be achieved at the end of year 6, 6e, A2, B1 at the end of year 10, 3e, and B2 should be achieved at the end of a 6th college after the national exam known as the baccalaureate. In general, at the university, the B2 level is generally required in most standard courses. Another interesting concept is the global scale that has changed the way we evaluate, we assess students. So, the common reference levels. This is what a learner can do in terms of proficiency when learning a language, depending on its level. For each common reference level, whether you are A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, there are a list of abilities. We say that a learner has some abilities. He can do certain things. It's always positive. So if you look at a B2 independent user, he can understand the main ideas of complex text on both concrete and abstract topics, including technical discussions in his or her field of specialization, can interact with a degree of fluency and spontaneity that makes regular interaction with native speakers quite possible without strain. That's interesting here, without strain for either party. He can produce clear, detailed text on a wide range of subjects and explain a viewpoint on a topical issue by giving advantages and disadvantages of various options. Okay, as opposed to A1. So this notion of the concept of without strain is very interesting, and the ability to be able to give the pros and cons of an issue is also interesting. So I will let you read more thoroughly the different levels. All right, it is very general. Now, so we've already read what a B2 level can do, okay? So we have a more precise table, and you can see the common reference levels from A1 to C2, linked to different language activities: listening, reading, spoken production, interaction, English, writing. So for each level, depending on the language activity, you can do certain things. You are able to do certain things. These are called the can-do descriptors. Okay, it's called the descriptor. In French, it's je suis capable de. The proficiency of a learner can vary depending on the language activity, whether it's reading, spoken production, listening, interaction, English, or writing. It's possible to have A1 level in writing and an A2 level in listening. Let's compare the listening abilities of a learner between A2 and a B2 user, for example. So you can see that the B2 is without strain, and A1 is provided that the other person talks slowly and clearly and is prepared to help. And of course, A1 learner can understand and use familiar everyday expressions and very basic phrases aimed at the satisfaction of needs of a concrete type, as opposed to B2 can understand the main ideas of examples, complex text on both concrete and abstract topics. Okay, that's the difference. We move from satisfaction of needs, concrete type, to concrete but also abstract. And also we move from the concept of the third party talks slowly and clearly and is prepared to help without B2, without strain. So that's very interesting. So we can see the abilities of a learner are not the same. Okay, that was for the listening ability. So to recap, the common reference levels begin with can-do descriptors. I can do. We often find self-assessment grids beginning with I can do. Je peux faire. Therefore, the common reference levels are self-reflective and proficiency-based, because you should be able to give some evidence of that proficiency. Note that each learner can have different levels of skills depending on the language activity. By the way, can you measure your level of proficiency in the different languages you speak? Please complete the Padlet now. I've myself already completed my language profile on the Padlet, so I'm waiting for yours. This is the end of the first part.